Αγαπητοί τηλεθεατές του Hellenic TV, καλησπέρα σας. Το όνομα μου είναι Γιώργο Σάββα. Μαζί μου έχω τον Glenn Stewart, τον Assistant Director του Public Health στο Δημαρχείο του Enfield. Ένα από τα θέματα που θα μιλήσω απόψε είναι το obesity, γύρω από θέματα υγείας, και ο λόγος που ο σύνδεσμος Λευκαριτών έχει εμπλακεί σε αυτό το θέμα είναι διότι στο Δημαρχείο του Enfield υπάρχει ένας μεγάλος αριθμός από άτομα που είναι overweight, obese. Και να πάρω μια ιδέα ότι τουλάχιστον ο μισός πληθυσμός του Enfield, περισσότερο από τον μισό πληθυσμό του Enfield, βάλουμε υπόψη ότι υπάρχουν 320.000 κάτοικοι στο Enfield, περισσότερο από μισή, δηλαδή το 64% είναι overweight, obese. Είναι πάσουν από παχυσαρκία. Και η παχυσαρκία αρχίζει και από μια ηλικία 6 χρονών, περίπου 40% των παιδιών έχουν πρόβλημα παχυσαρκίας. Για αυτόν το θέμα θα έχουμε ένα σεμινάριο, ή μάλλον 2 σεμινάρια την ίδια ημέρα, 21η Ιανουαρίου του 2016, στο hall του Αγίου Δημητρίου στο Edmonton, στο Town Road. Αρχίζουμε από ώρα 6.30 και θα έχουμε τον Glenn Stewart που θα μιλήσει. Θα έχουμε την Μέλανη Λοΐζου και την Αριστέα Αλεξοπούλου. Θα αγγίξουμε πολλά πράγματα, εκτός από θέματα υγείας, γύρω από το τι θα τρώμε, είναι και το θέμα του καπνίσματος και του σίσσα. Αυτά θα αναπτύξουμε εν μέρει απόψε, αλλά θα έχουμε περισσότερες λεπτομέρειες στο σεμινάριο της 21ης Ιανουαρίου. Good evening, Glenn.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for agreeing to come to this important,
no problem
as far as I'm concerned, it is important for all of us, health issues, and indeed, the Hellenic TV has a weekly program on health issues with an appointed doctor. But this is over and above of what the Hellenic TV does, and we are concentrating the population in Enfield. Although people from outside the borough will be most welcome to attend our seminar. When we say, Glenn, when we say I'm obese, I'm overweight, what do we classify that term as?
Okay, so generally people are classified as overweight or obese according to measurements taken from their height and weight. So for adults, obese, there's various categorization taken from, you take your weight in kilograms and divide it by your height in meters squared. So for example, say I was 85 kilograms and I'm 1.88 meters tall. My BMI would be 84, or did I say 85 kilograms divided by 1.8 times 1.8, so about 85 divided by about 3.6 something, and that gets a BMI of about 24. So that's how it's worked out in adults. The World Health Organization has categories of underweight, normal range, the World Health Organization has categories of underweight, normal weight, overweight and obese, which are for underweight is 18.5 to 20, normal weight 20 to 25, overweight 25 to 30, and obese 30 plus. So that's how it's worked out in adults. In children, it's slightly different because children, when they're growing up, their BMI changes naturally anyway. So a person's BMI is generally lowest at the age of 5. So a baby will be born and their BMI will tend to go down until about the age of 5, and then start going up as they build more muscle, etc. So we have a measurement program for reception year and year 6, and what happens there is that the person's height and weight is taken, and then it's plotted against reference charts taken from the 1990s, and depends where you come out on those reference charts, tells you if you're overweight, normal weight or underweight.
All right, you mentioned the underweight.
Yeah.
Although we have the figures for the overweight, do we know roughly how many underweight children are?
About, I think it's for reception year it's about 1%, and
that's very minimum, isn't it?
year 6 it's about 1.5%. It's really tiny figures for underweight.
I have mentioned it in Greek that we are not doing very well in Enfield as far as addressing the problem, and it is a very big problem.
Yeah.
But what steps are we taking? What exactly are we doing in Enfield? Are we winning the battle? Are we going forward, or is it a matter of education? What is it?
In terms of how big a problem it is, it's just we're not really. So about 40% of year 6 students are either overweight or obese. About 20% of reception year students.
But that's a big problem, surely.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it doubles from reception year to year 6, from about 20% to 40%. But then by the time we get into adulthood, it's about 65%. So you can see from an early age to older age, obesity is increasing all the time.
I forgot to say about Glenn at the beginning of my introduction that apart from assistant director, he's doing his PhD in physical health, physical activity.
Yeah.
You are a board member of children's charity, The Gifted, and I hope in your capacity as that you will educate the young generation. And also Glenn is a very staunch supporter of the Cycle Enfield, where 30 million have been given to Enfield to turn a few roads. We have the roads, we add in along the road cyclists who can cycle, go to work, school, outings, in a safe environment without getting involved in any accident. And that's another issue. We're concentrating tonight on this, but I thought I mentioned it because you have been given advice on this issue. Yeah. We have been given 30 million by the. We've won the bid among other boroughs.
And physical activity is absolutely crucial to obesity anyway.
And it's a healthy environment. We will encourage people to take this healthy activity for 15 minutes cycling. It will reduce the the carbon monoxide, dioxide.
Well, for Cycle Enfield, the great gains of it from a public health point of view are the reduction in air pollution from people not driving their cars, which air pollution is associated with 17% of deaths in Enfield already. So that's good from its own point of view. And then also, if you can get people cycling, as a matter of commuting or getting around the borough, it builds physical activity into their everyday activities.
The vast majority of people, Glenn, in Enfield are in support of it. But they are not making a bigger voice than the small minority who want to. Anyway, let's get into what we're here for. Being overweight, there must be some advantages or disadvantages. What are the consequences?
The consequence, obesity, overweight, it's like a continuum, and obviously the more obese or more overweight you are, the more at risk you are for your health. So obesity and overweight is associated with coronary heart disease, coronary vascular disease, particularly associated with diabetes, of which we've got about 20,000 people with diabetes in the borough. Everyone,
blood pressure?
Yeah, blood pressure,
cholesterol,
hypercholesterolemia, hypertension. The academics will say that obesity and overweight is associated with about 36 different diseases. Across the health and social care economy in Enfield, it's estimated to cost about 85 million, obesity and overweight. So that takes into account extra medication, the cost of extra healthcare facilities, the extra disease, etc. that's coming through from it. So, not very good.
Glenn, 85 million nationwide?
No, in Enfield.
In Enfield alone?
In Enfield,
85 million?
Yeah.
Just to address the issue
of obesity and overweight.
Obesity and supplying drugs and things like that.
Well, it's everything. Once you get really big people, you get problems in pregnancy. You have to change your equipment for dealing with people. They have drugs all the time. There's a whole list of conditions that start flowing from it, and they become more difficult to deal with. So the costs just start spiraling. So, in terms of is it an issue? Absolutely, it's a huge issue for the whole borough.
During the seminar in January, we'll be having free refreshments and food, and we'll give a good example of what people can eat safely without running the risk of overweight. So please come along to these seminars. It will be an eye-opener, and it will be for all the family of all ages. People of all ages are most welcome to come. It will be free entrance, free food and advice. I've got two more people who may offer to give in one-to-one on a confidential thing. Are we concerned? We mentioned children here. Are we concerned more about children or adults or both?
I think there's almost a sort of false division between children and adults, and there's a lot of talk about obesity in children, which is fine and fair enough, absolutely it's fair enough. But I think in talking about children's obesity, sometimes we forget that often the people who dictate what children's behaviour will be the adults. And so we need to address both sides of it. We need to get adults to provide a healthy and good example, and good nutrition and good physical activity for their children, but we also need to address obesity in children as well. So when they grow up to be healthy, happy adults. That's what we want them to do. So I don't think we ought to focus particularly on one or the other. I sometimes wonder if we go too far down the childhood obesity route, because, as I say, the people who often control children's behaviour is the parents and the carers. So we need to do it from both sides.
You're absolutely right, Glenn. You're absolutely right that parents should lead by example.
Exactly.
And if the children are obese, that means the family is following the wrong kind of diet. And also that leads me to another issue on the issue of the shisha, where children grow up in a certain environment where shisha is regarded as a cultural thing. Part of their culture is and it's very hard to stop the culture side of it rather than the habit.
Yeah, I mean, shisha has certainly become more of an issue recently. The numbers are still quite low on the number of people who smoke shisha, though obviously it's higher in certain ethnicities than it is in others. I think there's some myths around shisha. So we did a survey on shisha about a year ago, and people were saying they didn't think it was smoking. It definitely is. They thought it was something to do because it smells of fruit. They thought it was fruit. It's definitely not. It's definitely tobacco. People didn't realise how much they could be smoking. So in a shisha environment, you can't really get away from the smoke. It's everywhere. There's some estimates that say that smoking shisha is equivalent to smoking up to 200 cigarettes. So it's
just one shisha?
Yeah, just the one pump. Yeah.
I see, one.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm not familiar. I mean, I've seen people doing that.
Yeah, and you're right. Some people are brought up with it, and it's something that perhaps we ought to try and move on from at some point. That shisha isn't giving young people the best start in life.
Glenn, we're talking about educating. We're talking about bringing these issues to the attention of the family, of the children, and schools are providing sort of, to some extent, a healthy eating kind of a menu. But are we doing enough? What else can we do? Are we doing anything can anything be done about it to stop it, to eliminate it? And what are we doing in the field at the moment?
Well, I think in answer to your first question, can something be done? Well, levels of obesity have tripled since the 1980s. So that to me says it can't possibly be a genetic thing. Your genes.
Are we talking as usual in Enfield or?
No, this is for nationwide.
For the nationwide.
Yeah,
right.
So nationwide, obesity triples since the 1980s. Ooh. If something triples in that time, it has to be environmental, because genes, don't change that quickly. It has to be environmental. So if it's environmental, like how we live, what we eat, how often we move around, etc., there's obviously something we can do about it. So yes, I think we can do something about it. What we are doing is, are we doing enough? Well, the levels of obesity are really quite high, so obviously I'd say no, we're not doing enough. Obesity it's plateaued at, say, 65% for adults and about 40% for year 6, age 10 to 11, and for reception year 4 to 5 is about 20%. So, it's going up, and the longer people are exposed to environment that makes them overweight and obese, the more overweight and obese they're getting. So are we doing enough? No. The levels are quite high. What can we do about it? I think that's something we need people to work with us and understand what's going on, and but there are a lot of things we can do. So we've put restrictions on new fast food restaurants being brought into the borough. We can do things like that. I have to say, I know, as you kindly said, I am an advocate of Cycle Enfield, but the reason I'm an advocate of Cycle Enfield is because it will make physical activity part of what people do every day.
Absolutely.
And what you need to make physical activity habitual for everyone. And if you look at the mortality from physical activity in somewhere like Holland, it's something like half what it is in Enfield, and that's just because they are physically active all the time. So that's why I'm such an advocate of Cycle Enfield. I think there are supportive measures we can do to Cycle Enfield. So we could put play streets in and get children playing outside more often. And there's evidence to show that when children are outside just playing by themselves, they use more energy than they would in structured sports. So there's an awful lot we could do about it. I think the other thing from more macro point of view is that people need to know how much sugar is involved in all this, and we're doing stuff on sugar. All the evidence is that if people reduce their sugar consumption, they reduce their energy consumption and they start to lose weight. So we'd very much welcome that, and we're working on how to encourage people to use less sugar. And I think probably one of the things that people don't always think about is when they go to the supermarket, for example, any supermarket in Enfield, they've got whole teams of people whose whole job it is to try and persuade you to buy more food. So,
that's the
so remember that when you go to the supermarket.
Glenn, you mentioned the takeaways, the food outlets.
Yeah.
There are some outlets which provide good food.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to inform people of what's harmful and what's good for them.
Yeah.
Because in general, they take anything in, let's see, I'm hungry, let's go to this outlet. But they should be able to distinguish between a good food supplier, takeaway, restaurant, whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely an education element in this, and people, it's ultimately the person who buys the food and puts it in their mouth. But there's very good evidence to show that if people go to a supermarket or go shopping when they're hungry, their food choices are worse than when if they go in when they're not hungry. So something about knowing yourself, knowing what the food is, thinking about the consequences of what you're eating, but remembering that they are the supermarkets. So for example, if you go around any supermarket, you can almost guarantee the most fattening, sugar-filled, worse for your health items will be at the end of the aisles where everyone goes past. And
at the end of the aisles.
Yeah. So when
the temptation is always there to where you wait. Or I understand. Some of them have stopped doing.
So they've stopped because there's so much protest. They stopped putting sweets next to the checkouts.
Yes.
Yeah. But the whole, the idea is to get you to buy more food.
Glenn, that's why Lefkara Association, as you know, has been trying for last 2 years to get this off the ground.
Yeah.
Recently, this issue has been highlighted in the national press and some TV channels, which suggests to me that this is, although we have a big problem in Enfield, it's a nationwide problem, and rightly so. The association started this seminar at the beginning of January in the hope that some people will take into consideration of listing it into their New Year's resolution to follow a healthy. It was a good timing, I think, 21st of January.
Yeah, I'd support that wholeheartedly.
And let's hope that with this seminar, with this interview tonight, if we can change the lives of a few people, those few people can give example to others. And that's why we are open to all the families, teachers, school children. They're all welcome to come. And talking about parents and children and teachers, What advice would you give to all of them, to the guardians, to the carers, parents? What would you give? What advice would you give?
I suppose the best advice I've heard is that, so I hadn't thought of this, but a professor at London School of Tropical Medicine, he said the easiest place to get overweight or obese is in your home. So in your home, you know, you can sit down, you can watch TV for 4 or 5 hours. The fridge is within arm's length. You know, some of it is just think about what you got in your home, and try and go out a bit more. I suppose, you know, it's just get yourself away from the environment where it's just very encouraging to eat poor food. And really, I would say the best thing to do is just not bring the poor, you know, unhealthy food into your house in the first place.
Glenn, I would like the seminar to be quite open, and let's be frank with people.
Yeah.
We don't want to go down that we have to be politically correctness. Let's call everything by its name.
Yep, yeah.
Let's address the issue, because avoiding naming some food or some companies is not serving the purpose. Let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people know, but they still do.
Yeah.
It's like smoking. Harms your health, but people still smoke, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we need to do, you know, I think there's a dual effort. So we've got a sugar poster up in, what's that, Enfield Chase Station now, and it says, you know, the sugar in different bottled drinks, and fizzy drinks generally is full of sugar. So yeah, I think you're right. I think we need to point out to people just how calorific some of the food might be.
Any other advice, any other messages that you like to mention here today to all the viewers, to Hellenic TV viewers?
Well, if we're mentioning shisha, which I can never pronounce properly, but if we're mentioning shisha, please, you know, don't use it as a rite of passage, and try and move away from it. And if we're talking about food or obesity, it's quite simple in some ways. It's just move more and eat less.
Move more and eat less.
Yeah.
That's your message for the new year.
Yeah.
Move more, eat less.
Yeah.
But even that little bit you eat, it has to be healthy.
Yeah. But
avoid sugary stuff, fizzy drinks.
But try and make it as part of your everyday life. So that's what I'm saying about cycling. Just move more, eat less. So perhaps walk to work rather than taking the bus.
Cycling is a good exercise.
Exactly. Exactly. Cycling is very good.
Stops thrombosis. Again, this is the leaflet that's been distributed with all the names, the days and times, and ο παραγωγός του προγράμματος αυτού θα δώσει τις πληροφορίες που να κρατήσετε τις θέσεις σας, στο email και τηλέφωνο, το οποίο είναι και πάνω στο αυτόν το φυλάδιο. We thank Hellenic TV for their hospitality.
Thanks very much.
We wish them a happy new year and a
happy and healthy new year.
Absolutely, 2016. Αγαπητοί τηλεθεατές του Hellenic TV, ευχαριστούμε που μας παρακολουθήσατε απόψε. Σας ευχόμεθα ό,τι υποθείτε. Καλό χρόνο και ελευθεριά στην Κύπρο μας.